a drip a day is nothing. But when you span that over, 4 years, all of a sudden you tense up, because your 30-gallon barrel weighs 300 pounds. You can manhandle it, move it around.
Yeah.
There's nothing like you're getting ready to dump one and you need to grab it with a forklift, but you got to shift it an inch one way or another. And you go and you tense up and you grab it and all of a sudden, boop, you just pick the whole thing up. And you're just like, oh, God.
This is,
It's sat there for 4 years.
That's going to be in there now.
And it's full of dust. There's nothing worse than that.
I'm your host, Jeff Sart. We're going to take you behind the scenes with the craft distillers who are pouring their heart and soul into crafting the next version of America's spirit. This is the Great American Whiskey Cookers. On this episode, we get an inside look into the new rickhouse at Lonely Oak Distillery with Pat Hoffman. We talk about some of the normal whiskey geek stuff like barrel entry proof, angel share, and barrel size, but it's the weather, the vast temperature swings that Iowa brings, and what it does to the whiskey that really has Pat excited. Check out the episode. Welcome to this edition of the Great American Whiskey Cookers. I'm Jeff, your host, and I'm here at Lonely Oak Distillery. I'm talking with Pat Hoffman. We walked over here to your original barrel shed,
Yes.
right? This is added on, or not, was this an add-on?
Yeah, this was an addition to the original building.
Okay.
Yep.
And this is where you initially had all your barrels, right?
Yes. Yeah, we added another building a year and a half ago.
Okay.
So what we have in here is some of our older stuff, some of our youngest whiskey we just filled and we haven't moved to the new shed. Okay. And then about all the remaining small barrels, 15-gallon barrels that we have left. Now we fill 30s and 53s.
I was going to say, because I see all sorts of different sized barrels.
Well, when you start a distillery, one way to trick Father Time is, there's two ways to trick Father Time. Buy somebody else's juice and sell it as your own, or you use smaller barrels where they'll age faster. So for instance, a 10-gallon barrel will age 5 times as fast as a 50. Now it's not as simple as that, okay? Right. But because of the volume to surface area, okay? But a 10-gallon barrel will cost you $300. 50-gallon barrel will cost you $400. So it's $1,500 to age 50 gallons or $400. But that's going to be ready a lot faster than a 53.
And you started with smaller barrels, but you're now moving over to
We started with 10s and 15s, then moved to 15s and 30s, and then now we just fill 30s and 53s. I don't think I'll ever get away from the 30s because I like it. We still do fill some 15s. A lot of that is for our newer whiskeys. We'll fill some 15s first, so we always keep some of them on hand, just so we can get a quicker view of the profile, how it's aging, all of that.
Sure. So let's go over to your other rickhouse.
Okay.
And let's talk about some barrels over there.
Sounds good.
So you're leading me into this is the new barrel shed, right?
Yes.
So mostly 53-gallon barrels is what I'm seeing.
Yes. 30s and 53s primarily. We've just started filling 30s a year and a half ago.
Right. So, and I'm sorry,
53s a year and a half ago.
And how many barrels do you think are in here right now?
I don't even know. I probably 15,000 gallons, I'm guessing, right around there.
All right, and it's non-temperature controlled.
No.
I mean, it's November here in Iowa. It's like 56 degrees outside right now, and it's like 55 degrees in here.
Right. We want that. We want that fluctuation in temperature.
Right.
Iowa's great for that. That is what makes whiskey.
Right.
That the increasing and decreasing temperature. Like yesterday we were in here, and this whole building, it was warmer yesterday in the afternoon. This whole building smelled like whiskey. I mean, you open the door and you could smell it. I love the spring days where the whiskey is cold and all of a sudden you get like an 85-degree day, just out of nowhere. And you'll see sweat lines
on all these,
condensation on all the barrels. You'll be able to tell where the liquor line is inside that barrel by the oak will look like you sprayed it down with a hose. And it's those little changes. We actually measure the temperature of every barrel in our rick houses. We have sensors at 2 feet and at 10 feet. And so, we can tell you the life when that barrel was put in from that date, and we can go all the way forward to the length of time to tell you what was the relative humidity and the temperature swings that happened to that barrel. Now, information's only useful if you can make decisions from it.
Right.
And I can't change the weather, so I don't know what I'll do, but I figure it's still kind of neat to know the life cycle of a barrel. And if you come up with a barrel that's, that's really different in one way or another, you can go back and look, or a series of barrels at the same age.
Right.
You can see what was different with that set of barrels versus ones you did a year before, just regarding the temperature.
So what's your barrel entry proof? What's your whiskey going in the barrel?
We typically go in at 108. We do have some experimentals. We've gone higher, we've gone lower, but whiskey was, bourbon especially, was always barrel proofed at lower proofs.
Right.
And so we find that 108 is where we like to enter the barrel. I love it when I go to whiskey shows and people grab 130 proof bourbon and they say, this is the way they made bourbon 100 years ago. And I'm just like, actually you couldn't call that bourbon 100 years ago because it was proof too high. Right. It needed to be 115 or 110 or whatever it was. But I think the lower, the lower the proof of the barrel going in the barrel, the flavors inside of a barrel are partly, your whiskeys, your vanillas, are partly tied to the wood sugars.
Right.
Okay. So the lower the proof going into the barrel, the more wood sugars you're going to pull from that barrel. Okay. Because sugar dissolves easier in water than it does in alcohol. So you lower that proof, you're going to pour more flavor from that barrel. So we've gone as low as 100 proof, and we've gone as high as, I'm sure I've done some that are 125, just because I can. But 108 is, we think, the sweet spot for us on our bourbon. Our rye, we do it at 108, but it's a couple years behind. We can still play with it. There's nothing wrong with that. So
where are you getting your barrels from?
Most of our barrels come out of the barrel mill out of northern Minnesota. We also get some out of New York.
Okay. And do you have problems getting barrels? Because how many barrels at a time are you buying?
Usually I'll get probably half a dozen pallets at a time.
Okay.
Generally I'll get them, periodically throughout the year. That's generally what I'll get. I always try to stay during, barrels, they used to be hard and then they were easier. And then they used to be, then they were hard to get, and now we're kind of in an easier period.
Kind of a cycle period.
It cycles. But during COVID, we learned that this just-in-time inventory stuff is for the birds, because that's how, that's how the big guys get all the glass, and then you're stuck holding nothing.
Right.
And so we've kind of eliminated that. We always have enough on hand, that we're protected.
Sure.
So I like to be safe.
So whiskey geeks always want to know, what's your angel share? What do you have a kind of a range that you're looking at, or do you know?
Well, the smaller the barrel, the greater the angel share.
Okay.
Okay. The bigger the barrel, it's going to go down. So, I mean, we've had some barrels, like your 10s, they may be 16 to 17, percent. Some of them up to 20. Your 15s, they'll probably be 15%, 15 to 18%.
Sure.
30s, you're going to go, you're going to be less. You'll be below 15. And then I haven't popped to 53 yet, so I don't know. But typically, that's about what it was. You never know. Sometimes you get a leak that you didn't catch. I mean, a drip a day is nothing. But when you span that over, 4 years, all of a sudden you tense up, because your 30-gallon barrel weighs 300 pounds. You can manhandle it, move it around. There's nothing like you're getting ready to dump one and you need to grab it with a forklift, but you got to shift it an inch one way or another, and you go and you tense up and you grab it, and all of a sudden, boop, you just pick the whole thing up. And you're just like, oh, God. This is, it's sat there for 4 years.
That's going to be in there now.
And it's full of dust. There's nothing worse than that. And it happens rarely.
But it does happen.
It does, yeah, it does, And so that's why, in the spring, when you get those days that we discussed, and everything smells like whiskey. And there's nothing better. That's what I always tell people they should come. When it was 40 degrees the week before, and now it's 80 degrees. You come in and the smells are so wonderful. You just can't believe what you're smelling. You know, most of the distilleries smells that you get are the yeast,
Yeah.
you know, the creation of it. But when you get to the rickhouse, when it's just reeking of whiskey, I love it. I absolutely love it.
Question I have for you is I'm seeing these 4 barrels up here that if you go to Sesame Street, some of these things don't look like the others, right? They don't match.
So those are our Pedro Jimenez sherry cask.
Okay.
So we have a Pedro Jimenez sherry cask finished bourbon.
All right.
We have a Pedro Jimenez that came out, this will be its 3rd year. These are all limited releases, that they're all very popular and we always sell out. That is wonderful. That actually won a double gold in Denver. A lot of people called it the whiskey of the year at some of the finer liquor stores in the cities.
Nice.
And you'll try it, you're gonna love it.
Can't wait.
We have a Pedro Jimenez sherry cask finished rye, which was new last year, which is my favorite. And we're gonna sample that. That'll be coming out again this fall. This will be the 2nd year. And then this year, we've got a tawny port barrel finish, which we imported barrels from Portugal, which we're very excited for, and it's fantastic. I've had that a little earlier than most, and so yeah, it's wonderful. You're gonna sample that too. I kind of push this in here. I can't decide. To me, it's better if I go from the long wall out. Sometimes I think I want to fill that up with barrels, you know, on that wall. So we built this in mind of we're filling small barrels, and small barrels take a lot of room, you know, because you can't go so high because of the weight that you're putting on the smaller barrel. And now it's like, maybe it's a little too big, you know? I mean, you know, we're gonna fill it up, you know, but the bigger, of course, the bigger the barrel, the longer it has to sit too.
Right.
So you gotta take that into consideration. But we thought we had enough when we built the distillery, and then when we had the addition, we got more than enough room. And so then when we finished this one out, we're like, okay, we wanna take care of a problem. We got some other buildings too that we're keeping barrels in, so. Yeah.
Fantastic. Where do they find you online? How do they get your whiskey?
Visit us at lonelyoakdistillery.com, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can order all of our whiskeys that ship nationwide at lonelyoakdistillery.com. And you'll find us in Iowa, Nebraska, throughout the Midwest.
Fantastic. I'm Jeff for the Great American Whiskey Cookers. You can find us, greatamericanwhiskeycookers.com. Check us out on Patreon. Become a member and support the show. We'd really appreciate it. Until next time, if you can't be good at it.